Hello and welcome to What Else Is On, the show on the Else Nerds Network, where we talk about the past week in movies and TV shows, and almost being sick or being sick in Corey's case. I'm Gregor Sprague, and joining me as always is Corey Scott. Corey, how you doing?
I'm okay. I'm not like horrifically sick. I for some
Okay,
reason
sorry.
got hit
Direct
with a.
quote. You feel like butt.
I felt like butt, and I don't know. Something hit me Saturday that I just was exhausted and slept for the entire, well, all of the daylight, and
So you're a vampire?
close. Sunday was a little bit more of that, but I did at least make it to the store to get food. And it turns out whatever it is, which I would have just thought was me being a lazy ass, it has affected my wife too because she's dealing with the same kind of feelings. So we're just really worn down. Obviously, there's a lot of different things to factor in. The weather's finally starting to change over. Half of California's on fire. A bunch of people that I'm friends with, they have family members who've lost their homes over the weekend. It's been kind of a sad, pathetic time, and
Yeah.
I feel like crap just for feeling like crap when everybody else has got it far, far worse. So,
Oh yeah.
anyways, it's still good to be here.
Yeah. Um, Well, now I feel awkward about going into this first topic because it's definitely first world problems. Because as I mentioned on our Slack channel, first off, I have ProXPN now thanks to Beatmaster for telling me, hey, it's like ridiculously cheap for a lifetime subscription. Of course I'm going to do that.
And
Um,
explain ProXPN.
ProXPN is a VPN solution where you can basically go say you live in America. Yeah, a future sponsor. Um, you could like you live in America. You can if you're at the coffee shop or wherever where there's open Wi-Fi. You don't want to be just all up in there checking your Facebooks or your bank statements. God, this is a fucking ad. Sorry. Um, but no, it's a VPN which basically it hides your stuff from other people. But the side effect of that is I live in America. Let's say I want to watch Canadian TV shows. I'll just be like, oh, hey, look, I'm in Toronto. And I'm watching the TV shows. Or, which is more likely to happen, hey, I'm going to move to England for 3 hours. Over to London. There we go. Watch it. Along with like a whole bunch of other cities that I could put me in. Put me in like, I don't know, like Australia, New Zealand, some other countries in Europe that are closer to Beatmaster.
So
Like,
it's fake residency. This is something that
yeah,
the internet really has allowed people to do. Because I noticed this a few years ago when Vonage and the other IP phone services started popping up, and you could have a telephone number that was local to someplace other than where you were. So since I live in California, but all my family's in Michigan, it would have made sense at that point in time for me to get a Michigan number.
to get a
Since
517 number, yeah,
Right, yeah, or a
or
313.
313.
So this is sort of like that, except it's fooling the internet for the sake of the internet. Because if you're just trying to keep people out of your computer, there's firewall software and things for that. But if you want to watch BBC's website apps and go through those things, BBC doesn't really want to share those things with Americans. They want to keep
Or
it in
Doctor
the
Who.
yes, they want to keep it in the blue-blooded family. So you need to at least pretend you have to put on a faux British accent through your web browser, and that's what the VPNs
Well,
allow you to do.
and there's also the added benefit of um, that with the like it's encrypted from end to end. So if someone's trying to do like a man in the middle attack, they ain't going to be able to see anything.
That's true. The privacy things are getting to be a bigger and bigger deal,
Yeah.
and that's not even necessarily from hackers. That's from our own governments.
Yeah,
So
but that was the side thing that was just more of a mention. The other one is I have Netflix. I have month trial of Netflix. I'm pretty sure I'm going to keep it. I'm probably going to get Hulu. The third one here is Amazon Prime. I'm not 100% sold. I'm like 70% sold on Amazon Prime right now. It,
Well, after the rant I put forth about Amazon and Netflix and things, one of the previous shows, if I can't turn you off from it already,
well,
but you know what it is that you're looking at these things for,
yeah,
and my complaint is not for someone like you who actually is pretty savvy on this kind of stuff, but more for the basic user who has no idea and just like, oh, I'm gonna get Amazon Prime and then I'm going to be able to watch all the stuff that's on Amazon. Blah 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 blah. What the fuck? Why'd that happen? I don't understand why you're charging me now. You
yeah.
understand those things a little bit better.
Hmm.
So the question is are the benefits of Amazon, what else it gives you, going to add up to enough for
Yeah,
just
that's because that's the thing. Like, I figure if I'm doing, um, excuse me, if I'm doing Hulu for a year, it's going to add up to more than what Amazon Prime would be. But
yeah, and it's just Hulu.
yeah, and it's just Hulu. Same thing with Netflix. Like, if I'm doing just those, it's going to add up to way more than a year of Amazon Prime. The
But I think
problem,
in both those cases, they give you more stuff to watch than
yeah,
Amazon does.
the one thing that it's interesting, but maybe I just haven't searched right, is a lot of the premium channel shows are on there. Like some of the seasons, I think it's like the first 3 seasons of Strike Back on Cinemax is on there. Um, a lot of the HBO stuff is on like their back catalog. Like, I
Yeah,
don't
I think
think,
a couple months ago I remember hearing something about that they were going to get some of the old HBO stuff
yeah.
onto the Amazon service.
And so it's like, oh, cool. Like, I can do it that way. And plus, right now, it's what's selling me is the original stuff because you have Transparent, which is phenomenal. I love that show. And then you have the coming shows of Red Oaks that I talked about last week. Um, there's well, the second season Transparent. There's the new Top Gear show that will be airing on Amazon, and yeah, and Man in the High Castle. God, I think Evan, I think you just put that final thing. It's like, yep, I'm gonna do Amazon Prime
I mean,
because
that
of the
it's pretty
originals.
savvy of Amazon too that they basically they bundle it all into get a year of Amazon Prime and get access to these things because I've argued before that when there's only a couple of shows that I really watch HBO for,
Yeah.
which would be like Game of Thrones, and I like the stuff like Bill Maher and Last Week Tonight, but I was watching it more specifically for things like The Newsroom, which is done.
Hmm.
Then with an HBO Now subscription, I can rent HBO for a month right after Game of Thrones is finished, whatever it's doing, or towards the end of its run, and for that $10 I get to watch a whole bunch of HBO stuff in that month and then cancel out and not come
Hmm.
back to it until it's time to watch Game of Thrones again. So it's not like it's costing me $120 a year. It's costing me $10 a year if I play my cards right. It's kind of like getting the Netflix discs back in the day, and you get a lot of value for it if you're renting a couple of discs and you're grabbing them, watching them, setting them back. But if you're sitting on that disc for 4 months
Yeah.
without actually watching it or returning it, then you're basically paying a lot of money for something for one movie that doesn't do you any good. Uh, with the Amazon streaming thing, they're giving you a lot of other stuff, but as far as if you're just watching for the TV stuff, then $100 may be too much
Yeah.
if you're only coming in for a couple of shows and they play
Yeah.
close to each other. But
And they
on the
have
other
some
hand,
movies
yeah,
in there. They got some movies in there that interest me when I searched. Because in our Slack, I don't know if you saw, but I'm like, hey, I need some recommendations, and Beatmaster goes Snowpiercer. It's like
yes, I caught that.
if he sees recommendations immediately, it's like a bot autofill thing. Snowpiercer, and I searched. I could buy it for like $3.99 or rent it for $3.99 for an SD version, but it's not on Amazon Prime Instant Video, which I'm like, okay. But I did find other video or other movies, and I'm like, ooh, if it wasn't Saturday and my Sunday was already like full up, I would watch that movie for the show.
Yeah,
Which,
and I've paid to rent a couple of movies on Amazon uh, for the other show that I do. because it was just where they were located. And for the $15 that I've put towards Amazon so far, maybe it would have just made sense to pay all the way in and then get the free shipping, which is not always the case,
Yeah.
and the other benefits that they sometimes sort of give you a little bit, mostly not quite.
Yeah. But I don't know. I'm still debating. Stay tuned and see if I stay, if I actually do, because I have like a whole month left before I'm not doing the new Apple TV. Evan's asking what about the new Apple TV. Not doing it.
Yeah,
I
so let's just talk about that for a second, mostly because it leads into one of my things, which I did not watch a lot of TV this last week, or at least not a lot of speakable TV. The Apple TV we did see, or I saw. I watched the Twit coverage of it while I was at work, and it's an interesting device. I just don't know that it's so greatly innovative. And Tim Cook comes out there and he basically says, "Oh, we'll realize what really is going to make this great, and it's apps." And I'm like, well, that's sort of what the other things have already been doing. That's what Roku does. I think that's what the Amazon TV does, the Fire TV. I
yeah.
don't know that this is really doing anything different. It's got a neat controller, or if you're bought into the iPhone or the iPod Touch or an iPad, then you can use that as a controller too. I just didn't really feel that this was some spectacular device mixed with a spectacular service. The biggest thing was probably Siri, and again, Siri is already in some of these other devices. Roku's got a speaking thing. Amazon's got a speaking thing. I think Amazon's doing better with the speech recognition stuff just in how they've introduced their Alexa product.
Yeah.
So Siri's been so hit or miss as far as I can remember, but I don't know anybody who really uses it. I've got a friend at work who occasionally pulls out his phone and does the OK Google into his Samsung Note, and I do that every once in a great while, but I just don't really, I don't search that way. I don't think of searching that way. And what I really would benefit from more is an interactive device that's going to just always be playing like TV does. That's what I'm still missing.
Yeah.
Is that if my Roku knew what I like to watch and then filled in the spaces so that when I'm watching, I can just keep watching and stuff keeps coming on, then I would feel a little bit more in touch with it. It's still kind of one of those things that I flip over to, and I'm much more taken with live TV than I am with any of the other streaming devices or services. But the reason I jumped on that was because one of the things that I did watch this week was, after watching the Twit stuff, I came back and watched it again with my wife, specifically the stuff about the iPad Pro. And that's because my wife is an art fiend. She is an amazing artist who does all this great stuff without the training or anything. But I saw when they started sketching with that pencil, and it's dumb. It's dumb that we've gotten the iPad to sort of equivocate to the Microsoft Surface, and that the stylus is now actually existing on this thing when they used to say that it was a losing proposition to have one. But I don't care, because I
Yeah.
looked at the way that thing worked, and I'm like, my wife needs this. My wife absolutely needs this. She needs to be playing on this thing all the time. And I showed it to her. We spent about an hour watching that part of it, and yeah, it was pretty intense. But it's one of those things that it's still really cool to be able to pop Twit up on my TV. That's still kind of innovative to me, as
Mhm.
strange as that is, to just be like, oh yeah, and here's this podcast that I listen to all day, or watch on occasion when I can. Like, yeah, I'm gonna show this thing off to you, because that's where we're at now. Is that all this stuff gets played online, and you can just go access it when you want to. And that's way more innovative than apps.
Yeah. No, yeah, definitely. And like, because I have the last model Apple TV, and it's a fine device for being an entertainment device. It's perfectly fine. And with where they're trying to go, it's like they're looking at Roku and seeing, and even the Chromecast for that display, but Chromecast uses the tablet or whatever as the backbone for it, and they're going, oh, we need to do that too. That's what everyone's doing. That's the price point that is in all these other things that we're lacking. And I don't think it hasn't sold me. But then again, I only own two Apple devices now. I only own a MacBook Pro and an Apple TV, both of which are not like latest greatest cool thing with them. Like my cable is all nice and taped up because the end is frayed and wires are exposed, and I'm not paying $85 again for another power adapter.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the Apple ecosystem, it's always a problem because it's so gated.
Hmm.
It's always closed off to so many other things. They are getting less of that with the implication, at least, although it still doesn't happen, that they're going to put Apple Music onto Android. I just don't want to go and buy Apple stuff like their movies and shows and then not be able to watch them on other devices, to constantly be part of the Apple thing. Sony used to do that for years, and that's why I wouldn't use Sony. It's like, oh yeah, buy our Sony cameras and then use our memory sticks, then use our memory sticks on our TVs, but only our stuff. You can't use it anywhere else. Apple is a lot of the same problems. I love my MacBook. I would certainly buy an Apple computer again, but the iOS stuff always kind of feels just a little closed in. Although I've been kind of bummed out with Android for the last several months, as I'm seeing that they're kind of falling into a lot of those traps too. Be that as it may, the thing about the Apple TV, the $200 box, is it's a $200 box, and I just don't know what that's giving you in comparison to the $50 to $100 boxes that are already out there that do so many of these things as it is. I
Yeah,
can't imagine that it's really giving you that much greater of an experience. And they've already went way past their exclusivity of the HBO stuff. Showtime isn't exclusive of them, so there's nothing that they hold that stands above what anybody else can do. It's Apple, and that's only exciting when Apple does something really innovative. And it's been a while since they've done something innovative. One of my best friends has the old Apple TV, and he stopped using it because they got a Wii U, and the Wii U did all the multimedia stuff that they wanted way, way better. And it's a gaming system, and a more legitimate gaming system than the kind of games that you're probably going to see on this. And I saw an article about the Xbox One and the PS4 are in trouble because the Apple TV is gonna eat into their sales. I don't believe that, because
yeah,
there's serious gamers, and then there's a moderate gamer, and then there's the gamers that are playing stuff on their phones or on tablets. And that is so low key. I mean, it's a lot of money. It absolutely is a lot of money. But they're only certain style games, and the controllers matter, and the interactions matter, and the power of the device matters. And I don't see Apple competing at that level.
yeah.
And I don't think they want to,
No,
honestly.
no, yeah. Um, and honestly, for me, like I mentioned this with Beatmaster earlier, because I'm like, with all the subscription services, it's almost like I can convince my mom and be like, hey, you can save a whole bunch of money if you only paid for internet and phone, and maybe even possibly just internet. Like here and drop cable. We both buy an antenna, stick it up on the roof, and cut the cord and all that. But I mean, I don't know. Like I've mentioned, and on there, I'm like, yeah, might try to buy a Roku, like a Roku 3 or whatever, because that will do all. I believe that will do all three um, ecosystem or subscription services that I'm looking at doing.
Yeah, it does. And the Rokus, you can find them refurbished all the time.
Oh yeah, but I don't know. So, but this isn't tech talk. No, this is what else is on the show where we sometimes talk about TV shows.
I do want to say, though, that the most exciting cord cutter thing that I've heard of is still what Glenn Rubenstein used to talk about with his Xbox system using Plex, where he would run it and he would basically create like TV channels and it would play all that stuff in a row for them, and it would just kind of like pop shows in from the stuff they
Yeah.
had. I mean, that takes a piratey existence that I'm not quite ready to go into. Plus, I don't have a desktop computer set up for it to use as a server.
Yeah.
But it is the most intriguing thing. It is the best case for cord cutting that
Hmm.
I've heard of.
Yeah. But let's start. Let's jump into the show, and we'll talk about some stuff. You watched the league, which sort of surprised me a little bit. I don't know
Yeah, it
why,
surprised me too.
but
I know that this is the last season, and I figured, okay, I've dabbled in watching the league here and there. I've picked up on it a little bit more as each season has come and gone, but I've never really dedicated it. I've never programmed the DVR to grab the league before, and this year I decided I'm gonna do it because it was the lead-in for You're the Worst,
yeah.
and I knew I was gonna record that, so I gave it a shot. I don't know. I don't know that it's necessarily worth it for me still. I haven't deleted it off the DVR, but it's still maybe not my
That's
show.
no, that's understandable because the comedy, especially with you jumping in on the last season, it's pretty much well established. But I mean, a lot of it's improv, which I love, and you have, excuse me, the characters all creating these new trophies for Andre, played by Paul Scheer, for his character, and it's just like just digging at him, and he takes it pretty well. Like he's always been like the whipping boy in their group, and because he does it to himself too. Like he'll make jokes, or he'll say things that's like, you realize you basically just said you like butt sex.
Yeah, but they kind of do the same thing with Taco in this episode,
Well,
and they're trying
Taco.
to treat Taco as a whipping boy, and he's doing the same thing. He's just taking it all excited and everything. So it didn't really feel like there was enough difference between their characters.
No, Taco is different because Taco, he won the Sacco last year, which is basically you
The loser
suck.
trophy.
Yeah, it's the loser trophy. You suck the worst, or you suck the most, and with them they have Sacco punishments. Like I think some fantasy football teams do that. My church league doesn't because it would actually be hilarious to see the pastors going up there wearing wearing like a chicken costume while they're speaking or something, but never going to happen.
And the Lord
Um,
said, "Cluck."
yeah, um, but he because all the punishments that they're thinking of, like they're thinking, let's embarrass him, and he's the type of person where he's like he will do that already. So
Right.
that's the difference. Where Andre, he just says stuff that he doesn't realize the double entendre or double entendres as one of the team names from last year from seasons back, that are associated with what he's talking about, which is also hilarious because he's a plastic surgeon. But it's really fun to like watch if you know a little bit about football. Like I know a little bit about football.
Yeah, that's the other thing is I don't know football at all,
Yeah,
and
and
I know that you and Glenn both always used to tell me, "Oh, don't worry about it because it's not really about football. It's not really about sports." But I think as they've gone on, as they've been able to get more and more sports people
mhm,
to do cameos, it's become more about sports
yeah,
in a certain way, and that makes it even less enticing to me as the layman watching it.
yeah, and that's understandable. Like it's still, I wouldn't even say it's like, oh, you have to know about football because they bring the people in as cameos more. Like it's like, oh, last year they're at a funeral for their friend, played by Adam Brody, and one of the football players walks in on Kevin and his wife having sex in a funeral home in the like where all the other caskets are at, and all this stuff, and like it's stuff like that typically happens with a lot of the football players. Um,
Yeah, but I mean the opening of this episode had a guy on there that he's sitting there talking on the beach. He's like, "You always do a running play with this,"
oh,
and I recognize what that was from. I'm assuming that guy was part of the Seahawks.
Yes, he's Marshawn Lynch. He's the running back from the Seahawks, and that was them digging at them from the Super Bowl this past year, where
Right.
they're at the one. It's the last play of the game. They're at the 1 yard line. All you have to do is get Marshawn to run the ball,
Yeah.
and
And so I didn't know who Marshawn Lynch was, but I recognized the reference.
yeah,
So I got the joke after the fact, but it's one of those things that it probably would have been funnier to me if I knew anything about who he was to see, oh, and then they're going to make this joke. Okay, haha.
yeah.
This is not that the show is bad. It's certainly not that the show is bad. It's
It's
got
just the
great
show is not
pedigree of
for you.
actors and comedians involved in it. It's done very well as
Hmm.
an FX show, which is not usually the highest end of popularity, but it's done okay for itself. It's
And
just
it's honestly it's
realizing
been
that it's still probably not for me.
yeah, and honestly it's like it and well Archer's coming soon or coming to FXX, but it's like the League and It's Always Sunny have been the two staples of FXX. Like not counting like of their original content, those have been the two big ones that when they were sent over there, it's like, oh, we're worried about the shows, but then you see them they're like, oh, they're bringing this on because it is so powerful, and FX is trying to make something out of FXX
Yeah,
instead of where they play the
it's
movies.
funny because when I was setting up, because we had gotten the new DVRs not too long ago, I was setting it up to find You're the Worst, and I kept going through the FX menu trying to find it, and I'm like, I can't find it. I can't. That's right. There's another X on here. I got to look further down the list somewhere. It's still kind of stupid to me because neither of them have enough programming to really be two stations. But
Yeah, and I could understand if they were wanting to turn FX into more of the dramas, like with Sons of Anarchy, which wrapped up, and then now the Bastard Executioners, which pay attention because I'll be talking about it very soon on Search and Stops. Um, or stuff like that, or Justified. Like if they're, but because it seemed like it's very much a mixture of, oh, we think it'll do better, it'll do good over here on FX, where more people have the channel, and not not almost create the demand for FXX by saying,
well,
oh, this is where we do our comedy.
it's also confusing because I kept seeing the commercials for these things on FX because I wasn't watching FXX, and when I go to look for them, the names of the channels are too similar. I get that you're just saying it's more FX than just FX is. Uh, Maybe they should have called it something different.
No, yeah, yeah. Um, so you mentioned this earlier. What did you think of the second season premiere of You're the Worst?
Uh, I like the show. I like the characters of the show.
Hmm.
I watched it with the wife, and there were moments. I think it was the commercials going into it. Actually, she laughed harder than she'd laughed during the show. There was a disturbing sex scene in, in the episode between the best friend and her husband, who she's split up with, and
Oh
she sort
yeah.
of seduces him, and that guy is just creepy as hell. And watching them, it was enough to send her out of the room. Um,
You should. Oh gosh, you should find on Netflix. I think you guys have Netflix. The League. It was in one of the seasons. It was called Ginger Strokes. Or they talk about the Ginger Strokes. Or no, no, not ginger. Vinegar. The Vinegar Strokes.
yeah, I probably shouldn't. I probably shouldn't go look for that. Uh, I'm remembering last season where it was not instantly like the greatest show, but I came into it a few episodes in, so I started watching it all in a row.
Yeah.
And getting about 3 episodes in, you start to build up feelings for the characters. You start to like them a little bit more. I think it's interesting that they're both growing and hating the fact that they're growing
Yeah.
because they don't want to be those people. I love the speech that her friend gave her, Keith or Donahue gave her about like you can't be boring, you can't let yourselves be that boring couple, and so it challenges them to go out and just do worse and worse things. Them going after the Google car was actually pretty funny.
Yeah.
Just it's okay that they don't want to grow, but from the audience perspective, we need to see some of that. We
Yeah.
need to see some changes and some growth. It can't just be the last season over again. So I don't have any real complaints about it. I just kind of want to wait and see what happens.
No, yeah, you're echoing the same things that I have. I mean, because it's like this is what I love about doing the show is like I'll sit there and be like, oh yeah, I enjoyed the show, I enjoyed it, it was nice, and then you start making me think about what I just watched, which is good because I don't want to be in this like mindless like watch shows, go work, watch shows, go work,
Yeah, if
sort
I
of
was
thing.
willing to just be brain dead and watching anything that's on, I would be watching Fear the Walking Dead, uh,
Haha.
which I'm pretty close, and I still can't handle that crap. So no. Uh,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's there's I'm getting better at tuning stuff out. Maybe I'm a little too good at tuning stuff out that I kind of want to tune stuff back in again. But when I see such incredible shows as there's been a few this season that have been, I think, just impeccable TV,
hmm
it makes me a little bit more particular about what else I'm watching,
It's
about what else is
completely
on,
understandable.
so to
Yeah.
speak.
No, that's completely understandable because I mean, from here, just from having 20 like 20 to 30 hours of my weeks sucked up doing a job now it's like hey I'm growing up but it's like oh I don't have all the time that I used to have to watch the stuff that I would watch for the show and all that or to read the comic books for a future show that will someday become reality and all that and it's adjustment and it's me sitting here going, okay, let's make this work. Let's make it to where, and it comes down to, all right, Fear the Walking Dead. I was out after episode 1 because it didn't catch me, so I'm like, yeah, bye bye. Good, it's been nice seeing you, but
I'm
I don't
hearing
care.
people say by the third episode things are starting to come together, but that's
And
that's 3 episodes.
yeah, and I understand that, but at the same time, when there's a whole bunch of other good things, and it's weird because I'm getting the other side of this now. Like, whereas, like, oh yeah, it takes like 3 episodes, or since like, you gotta watch like 4 episodes in a row, and then you'll start to get everything. I'm starting to realize what the other side of the coin is, where you're like, yeah, but I don't have that time to devote to it when I could be watching something else that I know is good.
Well, the Sense8 thing, because of the fact that it's meant to binge watch.
hmm
I mean, that's the thing is Fear the Walking Dead. What is it? 6 episodes is for this season.
6 or 8, yeah.
Yeah. If it was a binge watch show, if it was something that AMC was doing on their website, then it might be very compelling, great TV. It's like if I just watched the first episode and could go right in the second one and then right in the third one, you know,
Sort of like NBC did with Aquarius.
yeah, I guess I
Yeah,
didn't
no,
watch it, but
well, no,
but if
no,
that
that's
was the case, then maybe it would have been a better viewing experience. But I can tell you, there was a half hour left of the first episode as we're watching it, and we already didn't care about it.
mhm.
So I feel like with Sense8, the first episode at least grabbed me enough that I wanted to hit play on the second one.
Yeah.
And I never partway through that episode thought, "Oh, I'm done with this," or I could just not care. It's like I was already kind of taken aback by a couple things in it, and maybe that was enough to get my attention. But this didn't offer anything like that. There was nothing that I could find compelling in it to stick around for it. And that's really what it is that Mr. Robot is a slow build and a slow burn of story too, but it's all good.
Yeah.
There's something there that really grabs a hold of your attention and keeps it in place. Keeps you riveted to the screen. I felt Daredevil did that as well. These are the shows that this season I was just like I ate this up. Uh, and I would probably feel like that about Transparent if I had Amazon because that looks like a show that I'd really like to see.
Transparent. It had me after the first episode, and I'm fully aware to admit I did pirate it because I didn't have Amazon Prime at the time. But it's and even then I pirated it before, but then they had because they were nominated for like I think the Golden Globes or something like that. They gave it you were able to watch it free for the weekend. I plowed through it again, and it was like episode 1 sold. It was like it didn't take. Oh, you gotta watch. And I'm digging this more at Fear the Walking Dead, or these other shows that it's like, oh, but you gotta give it like 3 episodes. It's like, but if I'm watching 50 other shows, giving it 3 is taking away from another good show, you
Yep.
know? And yeah, and I don't know. But with the Netflix ones, it's almost they know the people who are doing the shows know, with one exception, which I will say here in a second. They know that okay, we have so many episodes, and it's more than likely going to be binged. So let's make our format more for that, less for being aired over in some other country on on a TV show on a TV channel. That one exception is Wet Hot American Summer. I started watching I forget what episode it was, but it's the episode where H. John Benjamin turns into the can of vegetables,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm just like, it's good, but I don't want to watch it. Sort of
No,
deal.
it's a weird show. I
Yeah.
enjoyed the show far more than I enjoyed the movie,
Hmm.
but I'll admit the comedy of the show was stuff that my wife finds funny more than I find funny on my
Yeah.
own. Uh, it definitely, I think the season gets better. It gets into some weird places, and it's more like the characters that they bring in and just how they utilize them are pretty good. But it's a lot of dumb. It is a lot of dumb,
Yeah.
and you either need to be able to like that kind of humor
You need to be able to
or
shut
you
your brain
don't.
off.
Yeah, like I've watched some of the stuff that is it Stella is the name of the
Mhm.
show that the 3 guys from that are in.
Yeah.
Uh, that show was way more missed than hit for me,
Yeah.
and
I
I
think it
see
was the same
people
here.
posting about it, and I just like I watch the skits, and I'm like, no, I just can't get into it. But that's the thing.
Yeah. So real quick before I get into starts and stops, I want to talk about this is sort of a mini Pod Save the Queen segment here, which I think I might do. It's just while I'm watching stuff, do like mini little ones because I want to talk about the first episode of the show that airs on BBC Three over in the UK. I could see it being on like a Hulu or Netflix over here in America. Excuse me, called Fried. Um, this is set in a chain fried chicken restaurant like a KFC, and it has some actors like if you watch a lot of British shows that you'll recognize. Like a lot of British comedies, you'll recognize some of the actors and actresses, and it's a cute little thing. Like going back to our it needs to sell me by the first episode, where I did watch it, and I'm like, I've already got a lot of information, and it's only 15 minutes into the episode. Like, which is to me that's more British, the British style of thing. Like they're gonna pile in all this stuff and make you laugh within the first 15 minutes and keep going. Um, Fry did that for me, so it's like it's one of those that I'm catching. Like I'm still a couple episodes behind on where they air because it's airing right now. Well, not like right now, but it's airing in this week. Like new episodes come out, and it's a cute little show. It's on BBC Three, which I think is gonna be like one of the last live airing over network in there that will be on BBC Three until they switch to digital only. But the second one that I want to talk about is on the UK version of Netflix. Thanks to Beatmaster for telling me about ProXPN. It's called Educating Yorkshire. This is a Channel 4 show, and they've had I think a couple seasons of Educating Yorkshire, and then they have a spin-off called Educating Cardiff. And this is sort of, you remember that Jamie British baker or British cook dude,
Jamie Oliver.
Jamie Oliver? You remember that show that he did where he was trying to like change like as like Jamie Oliver's Food Revolution or whatever?
Yeah, he was trying to. I remember he was specifically working at getting children's lunches at their schools to be healthier than what
Yeah,
they were.
yeah. It's like that, but a they call him a head teacher. I'm assuming it's like a principal here in America. We should probably ask Daryl from Galactic Netcasts to explain their education system a little bit. But he's trying to make this school in Yorkshire and up in northern England more reputable, because there's all these stereotypes that go along with northern England, and even with that school in particular. It's like, oh yeah, they're all just a bunch of like hooligans or whatever, and he's sitting there making changes. This is a documentary type show, so there is that warning of these are actual kids, actual teachers in their lives. And it's thrilling to me, because it's like you see these kids, and some of them, they're like, oh yeah, well, we know what we need to do. We know that we can't be doing this or that, but yet here they are doing the thing that they're doing. It's like, wow, I was that dumb when I was that age, wasn't I? It's one of those things. Like, wow, just being a dumb kid is universal, sort of thing.
Absolutely.
And it's a great little show over there. So if you have Netflix and you live in the UK, hey, there's something you should be checking out if you haven't checked it out on Channel 4.
Or check out our sponsor, ProXPN.
Yeah. Which, gosh, with how much I've mentioned them, they should be a sponsor.
Yeah.
In that case, I demand my $39 back. But no,
Yeah.
so
It's not just the number of mentions; it's who actually listens to you and
yeah,
does something with it.
that is true. So let's do starts and stops, because I haven't talked enough. Starting on Tuesday, at September 15th at 3:01 a.m. is the 4th season premiere of The Mindy Project on Hulu. This is Hulu's first revived TV show, I will say. And so it should be interesting, and I do believe it'll be weekly. Like, it's not going to be like, oh, here's all of season 4. Or actually, honestly, what they might do is, here's all of season 4 if you pay for Hulu, what was formerly Hulu Plus, or the Hulu with no commercials
You're just pissing me off.
tier, and then do weekly for the other ones, because I think they did that with another show, is what they did. But I'm not exactly sure. They might just do weekly, because I don't know how big the order is and how much they already have done. So they might not be able to do.
TV that says "fuck you," do it our way.
Yeah. At 8 p.m. is on CBS is the new episode at a special night of Big Brother. They're changing things up because of football, so it's like Tuesdays and Wednesdays. At 10 p.m. on FX, you have the 2-hour series premiere of The Bastard Executioner, done by Kurt Sutters, who created Sons of Anarchy, and I think he wrote On the Shield, if I remember correctly. So that one, the commercials have me fairly interested. And I should have time because it's Tuesday, and aka my day off. And also at that time on NBC is the series premiere of Best Time Ever with Neil Patrick Harris, which is basically a U.S. remake of a UK TV show called Ant and Dec's Super Saturday, I want to say is what it was called. And I noticed that from the commercials before, where the prank one where they're like in the photo booth, that thing. You saw the two guys. That's Ant and Dec from the UK. But yeah, just me in my train of thought noticing stuff like that. Moving on to Wednesday, September 16th at 8 p.m. on Disney XD is a special presentation of the Nintendo World Championship 2015. And also at 8 p.m. on Fox is the 2-hour series or 6th season finale of MasterChef. At 10 p.m. on Velocity is the 3rd season premiere of Dallas Car Sharks. And at 10:30 p.m., if you read DC Comics this week, holy crap, do they advertise this show? It's the series premiere of Moonbeam City. And TV Land has the 1st season finale of Imposter. I almost said the episode title as if it was the name of the show. Moving on to Thursday, September 17th at 8 p.m. on FX is Jeff Dunham Unhinged in Hollywood, which is great. I don't know if that's a stand-up special or what, but if it is, that's interesting that they're jumping into stand-up specials. And at 10 p.m. on FX, you have the 1st season finale of Sex and Drugs and Rock and Roll. another show that I've been loving, but I will probably talk about it next week to talk about the whole series. On Friday, September 18th at 3:01 a.m. on Netflix, you have the special presentation of Keith Richards' Under the Influence. At 8:31 on ABC is their fall preview special. And a quick mention at 11 p.m. on Adult Swim is the second season premiere of Black Jesus. Moving on to Saturday, September 19th, at 6 p.m. on History Channel is the 2-hour special presentation of Neanderthals Apocalypse. And, okay, I messed up and did not highlight it, but at 9 p.m. on BBC America is the 9th season premiere of Doctor Who. I don't know why I didn't mark it. I should slap myself. And then at 10 p.m. on CMT is the 1-hour special presentation of CMT's Crossroads, REO Speedwagon, and Sarah Evans, which I always like those Crossroad things, so I always find it really interesting. And then at 11 p.m. on, speaking of the League, on Comedy Central is the special presentation of Steve Renazizi, Breaking Dad. Steve Renazizi, who plays Kevin on the League. Sunday, September 20th at 8:30 a.m., a show I didn't know came back on Disney XD is Marvel's Avengers Assemble. It's the second season finale. I did not know it came back, so I'm going to have to do some catch-ups. And that's basically it because there's an award show. The primetime Emmys are on Fox. And so it's like, oh, yeah, you get all that stuff. But then Monday, September 21st, it's the big fall kickoff starting thing. Because at 8 p.m. on CBS, you have the 9th season premiere of The Big Bang Theory. And then Fox has the second season premiere of Gotham, Rise of the Villains. Also known as Hopefully We Don't Tank the Show Further. At 8:31 p.m. on CBS is the series premiere of Life in Pieces. 9 p.m. on Fox has the series premiere of Minority Report. And CBS has the second season premiere of Scorpion. At 10 p.m. on NBC, you have the series premiere of Blind Spot. We talked about it before, like a couple weeks ago, with that whole leak, and we'll talk about it again later. At 10:01 p.m. on ABC is the 8th season premiere of Castle. And that should do it for starts and stops. So yeah, next week starts off the whole big, let's do like the fall TV stuff. So there's one show that we both have here that we both watched, and it's this new talk show thing called The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. I don't think
Late
anyone
Show?
watched it, do you?
Came out of nowhere. I've never even heard of such a thing. No, yeah. So this is the final one, right? I mean, we've been
Trevor
over
Noah
the last year. We've watched Fallon take over for Leno, and then Seth Meyers take over for Fallon. We've seen Craig Ferguson, who is going to be on at midnight tonight, leave his show and have that taken over by James Gordon. I don't even know. That's how bland he is. No, that's mean. And then we've been waiting for the Dave to Steven transition. No, we've got one more because the Trevor Noah Daily Show is.
Trevor Noah comes up 2 weeks.
Yep.
Which I almost had another thing, but sorry, because on Netflix there's a documentary on Trevor Noah and comedy in South Africa. I forget what it's called. It's like Trevor Noah. It's funny because it's true. But it's true. That's on Netflix. So far, it's really good. I'm only like the first half hour through it, and it's just because I'm like, I watched it after I got out of work, and I'm like, I'm getting tired. I need to take a nap, sort of thing. More than anything on the show. But yeah, that's the only other one we got is the Jon Stewart to Trevor Noah transition.
Yeah, and I don't know. I see the commercials for the Trevor Noah stuff, and the commercials aren't really doing anything to sell me on the show, but it's still the Daily Show, so I'm hoping.
Is it still the same chair, different ass commercials?
I don't know. I mean, one of the ones I've seen, he's selling some sort of jewelry. And he talks to some of the people on the show. I did see John Hodgman pop up in one of the commercials, though. So I'm like, oh, good, Hodgman's still going to stick around. Anyways, Colbert.
Yeah.
The opening for the first show, where he was singing the Star Spangled Banner, was pretty spectacular, especially when I realized who the umpire was.
Wait, who's the umpire?
It was Jon Stewart.
Was it really?
Yeah, so he's standing there. He starts out on the baseball diamond, and there's an umpire wearing a mask and everything next to him. And then when he finishes up, he's still back at the diamond, and the umpire takes off the mask, and it's Jon Stewart with a big heaty beard, and he's play ball, and he does the delivery for it. I mean, it was really excellent, and the fact that they got Jimmy Fallon to do a couple cameos on the show uh, was kind of nice too, because he and Colbert have had a camaraderie going, knowing that this was coming up. They still got to do it. Are you actually searching for this right now?
Uh-huh.
You have your own show that you're doing right now, Gregor. You can wait and look at that stuff. The online thing is always going to be there.
I may be watching it right now, but and Beatmaster's just pointing out the other thing, and I did pause it. I will be courteous enough to pause, because I'll tell you right now, when you do go to YouTube and you search the Late Show with Stephen Colbert, it may be the first thing that pops up. But yeah, so sorry, continue. I was being rude. I admit it.
Well, I thought we were discussing this together since we both watched it.
But no, but you blew my mind when you said that was Jon Stewart. I'm like, wait, the umpire wasn't short.
Well, I mean, he was probably sitting on the mound. Look, it's TV, the magic of TV.
Yeah.
So I watched Colbert throughout the week. I watched Colbert, and I still watched the nightly show with Larry Wilmore. Larry threw a congratulations to Colbert the night of the premiere as well, which is nice, which is absolutely. I do kind of feel like I'm at the point where I'm ready to stop watching Larry's show.
I'm gonna be honest with you. Didn't watch any of Larry Wilmore this week. Forgot. Here's the bad part. Watching at midnight at 11 o'clock, but then we're tearing over to CBS to watch my local news cover the last 5 minutes, which is basically weather. Come in during commercial, weather, or come at the end of sports, then like a good 3-minute commercial, 90 seconds of weather, another 3 minutes of commercials. Stephen Colbert.
Right. I mean, I DVR everything. I'm not staying up at 11:30 and watching Colbert when I have to be at work at 8 o'clock in the morning. But I've been
Same.
DVRing both the shows and everything, and Larry didn't break anything out as sort of a, we're gonna do our top game to try to keep viewers and everything, which is both respectful and you got to do your show, man.
Yeah.
I've noticed that as the roundtables become less and less of the show, another thing that's happened is that the guests on the roundtable are more regulars of the show than they are actual guests. So I kind of wonder if the show is struggling a little bit, how well it's doing on its own. I think Mike Yard is great.
Yeah.
I would watch his show, I think, more than I'm watching this one. So yeah, I think I'm about ready to pass this one on, and I'll give the Daily Show its tryout when it starts. I'll probably give it. I don't know if I'll give it as long as I've given Larry, but that's because Larry had a strong lead in from John before, and we'll just have to see. We'll see if it succeeds or not. But Colbert's good. It still feels. It feels more like a classic Late Show than what I expected it to.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, it still feels like Steven is doing his stuff from his show more than I expected it to.
No, that's exactly what I was going to ask you. Is because I'm sitting there going, wait a minute, and I love the guests that they have. Like they'll have it'll be like Justin Timberlake, but then it'll be, a dude who just won a Nobel Prize.
Yeah, I mean that is kind of the thing, is that it's walked the. Okay, here's our major celebrity, but then here's something more either political or more geeky that I enjoy. So, yeah, here's your Scarlett Johansson, and here's the guy from Uber, which they didn't show the bit where someone from the audience started yelling at the guy, I was kind of bummed out that that didn't happen. Maybe it's online or something.
Probably.
But it's funny because people, I think, know who he is, but he doesn't have a relationship with them. It's not like when they would go out there and they talk to Dave, and they'd all been on Dave so many times, or it was a big deal to get on Letterman. Now it's like, okay, yeah, you've got Clooney on the first episode, which is great, but they even made a joke of the fact that they don't know each other at all.
Yeah.
And but Clooney was still a great sport, and you kind of expect that from Clooney. He is a really cool guy.
No, yeah. And it does seem like they're doing, like, especially with the first episode, like they're doing more, um, more like online stuff because they have the like an extended interview with both Clooney and who was the second? Was Elon Musk the second?
Elon Musk was on the episode with Scarlett Johansson.
Okay, yeah. But then the guy who followed, oh, it was Jeb Bush. That's who
Yeah.
it was. Like they had more extended stuff because they had to condense stuff down for the episode, and I'm like, wow. Like hearing the monologue for episode 2 where they're like, yeah, we almost didn't have a show. I'm like, really? Holy cow!
Well, I could have just gone online and watched a bunch of episodes of The Mentalist, and it would have been almost the same thing.
Yeah. But yeah, honestly, I am sitting there going, all right, is this Stephen Colbert the character from the show? Throughout a lot of his stuff, because the only thing he's not doing is the word from
Right. Yeah, and he should. He kind of should.
Yeah.
When he broke out the graphic of like all the presidential candidates and had his face over in the corner, I'm like, that's straight out of your old show.
Mhm.
But as I understand it, a lot of the people who worked on the old show with him came along with him.
Which doesn't surprise me.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
'cause-
Why would you not want to bring all those people with you? You've had great relationships. You won a lot of Emmys together. So I feel like it didn't blow my tits off, but it was still a good watch. You
Mhm.
know, it was kind of like, and I want to see what happens over time as it develops when they start to do a little bit more. I like the giant hat thing, the big
Yeah.
giant furry hat. That was where it probably went the most outside of its safety net. That and the thing where he and Scarlett were laying on the blanket together.
Oh yeah.
That was actually really cute. Otherwise, it's a late night talk show.
Yeah, but I mean, that's the same theater that Dave was doing his show, right? Because it looks completely different.
It would, it's a reinvention of things.
But I mean, even the ceiling, like I don't remember the ceiling looking like a chapel. With and I'm seeing, besides I'm seeing the architecture in there, not just oh hey, we got the projector up there that's showing like a chapel, but like the architecture up there itself, I'm like, was that there? But I guess they just never showed it on David Letterman.
I don't know how much of that is real and how much of that is Hollywood magic.
Yeah, but in the
Leslie
end, it's
Master is saying the best interview so far was the one with Joe Biden. That's absolutely true.
Oh yeah.
Because it wasn't anything like an interview. It was two men just kind of sharing, some of the things they've gone through, talking about the people that they've loved and lost. It was really amazing and incredibly touching. And I didn't feel in any way that it was political either.
No, yeah.
Which I think is probably the best thing about it, because it would be very easy for people to come out the next day and say, oh, this is all motivated because Biden maybe throwing his hat in the ring as a presidential nominee. It didn't feel like that in the least, and I don't think anybody's even said anything like that either, which is kind of surprising.
Which, if they are, their dicks.
Well, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
But I expect that. I fully expect that. And to not get it sort of reaffirmed my faith in humanity a little bit more than it has been lately. Fuck you, Kim Davis.
But no, I mean, yeah, I really enjoyed this week of shows, and where I would watch the beginning on like live as it when it first aired, because of the fact that I had to work the next morning and I was tired from working that day, I'd be like, okay, I'm starting to fall asleep here, shut everything down, go to bed and watch it on demand the next day. It is sad to say, though, that I think I'm going to try to catch up on Larry Wilmore, and then, and see if I'm still liking it. But Larry might be the one to drop for me too. And but
Yeah,
yeah,
I mean, even going back to the Daily Show, I never thought Larry was the funniest of the people on there, and I was always kind of maybe a little offended that he was the senior black correspondent when Wyatt Cenac was so much funnier.
yeah,
Um, but be that as it may, the show has its moments and he has his moments, but it just still feels so forced on a lot of the jokes, and it seems like sometimes he gets a good laugh, a real honest laugh from the audience
mhm,
who are doing everything they can to be supportive and Larry chant. But then he stays to the script because that's what he feels like he has to do. He's not very natural.
yeah,
And I think that after you've had Stewart would stay to the script, but then would go off the script because he's like, okay, this is bombing, or he would just crack up so much that he would be kind of like he's in on it too.
yeah,
Larry just doesn't seem to quite have that. And Colbert, same thing. Colbert was a master at this. And I think Colbert is definitely better at that than even Stewart was. Larry's just not at that level, and I don't know if he's ever going
Ooh.
to reach that level.
Okay, Beatmaster's asking the $6 million question of how many months will Wilmore still be on?
It depends on how long they renewed his contract for. And honestly, will it remain Wilmore's show? That's kind of the thing that I think is that it's a good deal to have a daily show and a nightly show. It's just a question of would they give the show to somebody else? Would
Yeah,
Wilmore leave, or would they take it away from him and give it to somebody else? That's the bigger question. And who would that person be? And if it turned out to be a white guy, they might be able to pull it off just because of the fact that they've got Trevor Noah taking over the Daily Show
hmm,
better than they could have before. But it would still be a tough to follow up
yeah,
Larry Wilmore on the nightly show, which was going to be called the Minority Report, with,
which
with somebody who isn't black.
yeah, which honestly I feel like they should have stuck with the Minority Report with how much they're at least starting out. They were talking about all these racial issues.
They wanted to. They
Yeah,
couldn't. They couldn't because of Spielberg.
freaking Spielberg. But but no. So I want to talk real quick about, and this will be the final one, unless you got anything you want to throw in there. But this is also on Netflix. It's Nick Offerman's American Ham. It's like 10 tips on how to be a better person or something like that. Actually, I want to figure out the title because it's really funny. This one is really good. It's Nick Offerman doing his stand-up in. Hold on, actually, what is it? But it's him giving like in the brunt of him doing jokes, or it's stuff like. Oh, I gotta gather and replay it in my head a little bit. He's not doing like a traditional stand-up set. He's telling stories, which a lot of them are funny. A lot of them involve his wife. That involves religion, um, and all this. And he's very open about all of it. But at the core, he's giving you these 10 pieces of what he calls rules to live by, and they're really really hilarious. Some of the bits that you heard when he was on Jimmy Fallon like a year or two ago are on here, but the funniest parts for me were the two times they cut the songs because he did a parody song of he did a parody of a Johnny Cash song, and so they do like the whole cut like sort of thing, like technical difficulties thing, going to Nick Offerman in his wood shop complete with a ginormous stack of his book, Paddle Your Own Canoe. And then a lawyer walking in saying, "Yep, I represent Johnny Cash. You can't use that song." And them getting into this big fight, and you're like, and then Nick Offerman at the end, the punchline is he's like this talking to the guy, like, but you can find it. I'm pretty sure you can find it wherever you want. Like doing that, like looking, and then the lawyer who's a pretty well known actor, he's one of those you recognize him, not like well known, like, oh, you know that guy. He's like, who are you talking to? Like, why do you keep looking over my shoulder and winking? And then you do it again with Carrie Underwood's Jesus Take the Wheel. And but it's brilliant. The way Nick Offerman tells his stuff, it's like you're in there, you get hooked by the Ron Swanson, you stay because Nick Offerman is just amazing. It tells stories about being with his wife and writing a song and how he, because it was, I think it was the Rainbow song that he made for her, and how, like, she's like, oh yeah, that's funny, but you know what would be funnier? You add this. And I'm like, wow. And he's like, oh yeah, well, I gotta top that, so it's this and then this. I'm like, good lord, you guys are made for each other. But yeah, it's really great. It's on Netflix. Watch it at your own leisure and feel like more like a man if you follow those rules.
Rick and Morty's not on its finale yet. We've still got at least one more episode coming up because there's a new one that was advertised for next week. So, but believe me, I would talk about it because I love me some Rick and Morty, but I kind of went off on them the last time. So,
yeah,
I will say, just as a thank you to making some of the funniest sketch comedy around, thank you to Key and Peele, who did have their series finale this week, and
it was good.
It was very good. I mean, there were definitely recurring things that I think this is something that Dave Chappelle kind of had a problem with going into his third season. You know, it was, are we going to keep doing the same jokes, or are we going to keep coming back to the same kinds of sketches over again and telling them again? And there was some of that on Key and Peele. But even the things like Megan and her boyfriend, when they would bring them back, they were really funny.
Yeah.
The guys who loved Liam Neeson's were usually pretty funny, even though it was always the same thing over and over again. It didn't matter so much. And then they would do sketches like the guy who basically helps ghostwrite sequels to other movies and did the Gremlins 2 sequel bit, which was so great. Just the fact that they did a sketch about Gremlins 2, that you can't get funnier than that.
Yeah.
These guys really killed it for the seasons that were on the air, and I just hope that they still get to keep bringing us new stuff. I know they're doing separate things right now, and they're excellent in everything that they do, but when they showed up in Fargo in the first season, it was like, thank God. You know, that's just too awesome to have these guys show up in your program, which is a more serious, somewhat comedy drama about murder. They popped in there and they were excellent. So having gone back to watching them when they both started popping up on Mad TV, it's nice to see them having finally gotten their due.
Yeah.
And I look forward still to more of what they have to come. But thank you for everything that you did on the show. It was just fantastic.
Oh yeah, definitely. And it was one that I would watch occasionally, but even when I'm watching it, it was really entertaining. It was really entertaining stuff. And good God, I'm looking over it. It's American Ninja Warrior, and there's two people who are at that part where they're at stage 4, and I'm like, all right, you got him standing there with the rope, no safety harness on. What the? Like, is he gonna have a safety harness on? And I cut here talking. Go back. Okay, yeah, he's gonna have a safety harness on. Good. Because I could see, lawsuit. But no, Key and Peele, really, I really enjoyed their stuff. I think I started getting into them Was this their fourth season or third?
I think it was the fourth.
Fourth. I started getting them a little bit more on season 3 when I had Hulu Plus for when it was so-called Hulu Plus back in the day. But yeah, it's really good, and I do know. I want to say Jordan Peele from there is going to be directing like a horror movie or something. If I remember from like way back, like last year, the Entertainment Weekly article, because those guys are busy all the time. They're much like Chris Hardwick are workaholics.
Yep.
Like, and it's impressive to know that. Um, but yeah, so I believe that wraps it up for us.
That should do it.
All right, so this is the part where I do the outro. And you can find more about us by following us on Twitter at EltsNerds. And you can check out our page at eltsnerds.com. And you can like our Facebook group at facebook.eltsnerds.com. And you can watch all of our episodes back here on watch@eltsnerds.com, which is our YouTube channel. And you can email us at mail@eltsnerds.com. And we record What Else Is On every Monday night-ish at 10:30 p.m. Eastern, 6:30 p.m. Western. And hey, we have hold on, let me pull up the email. Where is it? I can't get to the email. But do you want to help? We talk about the Galactic Netcast all the time, and Dave even says, "Hey, thanks for the plug." Do you want to be on an episode of the Sci-Fi Geeks Club? Are you a fan of Andy Weir? All you have to do is go to the Galactic Netcast Patreon page at I think it's patreon.com/galacticnetcasts. And donate $1, and you are entered to be on the episode, the October 1st episode of the Sci-Fi Geeks Club with Andy Weir. Now, why is that special? Well, Andy Weir is a great writer. He's wrote The Martian, which will be a movie, which comes out October 2nd. That's right. It's just so, it baffles me, and I'm like, okay, so we're technically members of the Galactic Netcast. Can we enter?
I don't know, man. I've been one of their Patreon supporters for
Yeah.
a year or so. So
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You kick back, Dave. No, I would honestly, I would disqualify myself because of the fact that it's something that is so cool that they're putting this contest out there for just regular listeners, people to come on and get a chance to be on the show with Andy. I think that's awesome. So it is getting them to their goal of being able to support the network in a way that they feel like they need to for the betterment of the long term, and they're getting really close to the goal.
Yeah, because basically, here's the thing: Galactic Netcast for right now, what is being paid, what Corey has been helping pay for, and you guys, if you already contributed to the Patreon, was the WordPress website, because it had like an advanced theme and all this stuff. What this is going for is not even money in Dave's pocket, not money in anyone's pocket. It's going towards bandwidth to move from archive.org, which is a great, phenomenal service that's all free, to SoundCloud, which there are a lot more benefits. I think it's like better quality and all this other stuff.
Better quality, and your stuff is, I believe it's searchable. It doesn't disappear over a period of time, so it stays archived forever. So that episode with Andy Weir will always be there.
Exactly.
That's the big thing.
And we hope that you continue donating after this whole thing, just because. And it's really simple: $1 a month. It's not like they're doing per episode, because it's a whole network, or per week. But just I feel like I've all of a sudden
at the opening or the closing of every episode of the Sci-Fi Geeks Club. Come on, that's less than a cup of coffee. That was a terrible accent.
That was. I didn't know Daryl was from Jamaica.
Yeah, that's right, man.
But no, I believe all that's left to say is, besides donate money, and it doesn't have to be $1. If you want to donate more. But $1 is all minimum we ask for. But yeah, so this has been a Don't Tell Glenn production. We will see you guys next time.
Thanks, everybody.